All right, so um, we're diving into this youth program director role, and you've sent over some really interesting things from RoleCatcher. Seems like you're interested in more than just like organizing field trips, right? This is about making like a real impact.
Absolutely. And it's refreshing how RoleCatcher gets that. They acknowledge how deep this role really is. Like right away, they emphasize understanding the needs of young people, creating programs that actually benefit them.
Yeah, and they don't shy away from the challenges either. Like RoleCatcher is upfront about the long hours, the limited resources, and dealing with some pretty complex situations. It's all part of the job.
It is. And they highlight that to deal with those challenges, you need strong leadership, good communication skills, and a deep understanding of youth-related issues. Like
Yeah.
one thing they emphasize is social mobility. It's about empowering young people to reach their full potential, no matter their background.
So how does a youth program director actually put that into practice? That feels like, I don't know, kind of a big concept.
So imagine this. The guide talks about a youth program that connects young people from low-income backgrounds with mentors in their field of interest. And these mentors provide guidance, support, and open doors to opportunities these young people might not have even known about. That's social mobility in action.
Wow, that's a fantastic example. It's more than just like creating a program. It's about breaking down those systemic barriers, giving access to opportunities. But to pull that off, you'd need a pretty specific skill set.
You need the skills, and RoleCatcher breaks down those core abilities. They highlight that social perceptiveness is crucial. It scores a whopping 66% on their importance scale.
66%. So being able to read the room, understand where young people are coming from, that's critical. Makes you think about those interview questions Rollcatcher mentioned.
Exactly. How would you engage and motivate young people? Or describe a time you had to resolve a conflict within a youth program. These questions aren't just testing your experience, they're seeing if you can handle real-life situations, the kind that need a deep understanding of youth behavior and motivations.
It's like imagine you have a group of teenagers and they're totally disengaged, reluctant to participate. A youth program director with that high social perceptiveness might pick up on the underlying reasons for their disinterest. Maybe they don't feel heard or the activities aren't relevant to them. Being able to read those cues and change your approach, that's got to be critical.
Exactly. Being attuned to those unspoken things, understanding the emotions behind what's being said, and adjusting your approach, it's key. This goes back to active listening. Another key skill, RoleCatcher highlights.
They're really emphasizing that it's not just about like creating a fun program. It's about understanding the young people you're working with on a deeper level.
Precisely. And that's where hands-on experience comes in which RoleCatcher stresses as essential.
So getting out there, working directly with youth through internships or part-time jobs, even volunteering, that's key.
Absolutely. It's about being committed to youth development, showing that you're not just interested in the theory, but in the practical realities of working with young people. Like think about it, as someone who's volunteered at a youth center. They might have been in a situation where a young person was being bullied.
Man, that's got to be a difficult situation to navigate.
It is. And while the guide encourages you to seek help and follow safety protocols, it also really highlights how crucial it is to stay calm, de-escalate the situation, provide support to everyone involved.
Takes a special kind of person to stay composed and make good judgments under that kind of pressure. And that experience, you can just tell how valuable that would be for a future youth program director.
Yeah, you're right. Those real-world experiences, you can't beat that. And RoleCatcher points out that that kind of experience often helps people get started in like supporting roles within youth programs.
So starting as a coordinator or an assistant, learning from more experienced program directors.
Yeah, exactly. They might be helping develop a program or organize events, even just supporting communication between different youth organizations. It's not all just administrative stuff.
It sounds like even in those early roles, you're getting a really well-rounded understanding of how these programs work.
Exactly. The guide actually uses this example of an assistant who noticed that their program wasn't really evaluating their work in a way that captured the full impact. So they actually took the initiative to research and propose new evaluation tools, more effective ones,
Yeah.
showing that they're really committed to learning and improving.
Wow, that's a great example of how even in a supporting role, you can still make a difference, contribute some really valuable insights. It speaks to that growth mindset that Rollcatcher talks about.
It does. The field of youth development is always changing, so being a lifelong learner, that's crucial. They even suggest pursuing certifications like youth program management or nonprofit management.
So you're not just getting the experience, you're actively trying to level up your skills, your credibility.
Exactly. And those certifications, they can really make a difference, especially as you move up that career ladder.
Which, speaking of, what does that progression actually look like for a youth program director? Where do those paths lead?
Well, RoleCatcher says that with enough experience, you might become a senior program director, overseeing bigger programs, or even multiple sites. Or you could specialize in a particular area of youth development, maybe program design or advocacy. Some people even use their experience to consult for nonprofits or government agencies, shaping youth policy at a much broader level.
Wow, so there's room to grow within an organization, branch out into more specialized roles, even become an advocate for change in the system. Sounds like you could really tailor your career path to what you're good at, what you enjoy.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher actually has some really concrete advice for showcasing those strengths, like building a professional portfolio.
What would that look like for like a youth program director?
So picture this. You're at a conference, you meet someone who's impressed by your work. Instead of just handing them a business card, you share a link to your online portfolio. It has everything, like the successful programs you've designed, testimonials from the youth you've worked with, maybe even articles you've written about new approaches to youth development. It really shows your expertise and your passion.
That's awesome. It's a really powerful way to stand out and show that you're committed to this work. And I bet networking events like that are crucial for making those connections.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher highlights how important it is to go to conferences, join professional organizations, and use those online platforms, like LinkedIn. It's about building relationships with other people in the field, learning from what they've been through, and staying up to date on the latest trends, the best ways to do things.
It sounds like a really collaborative field where everyone's sharing what they know and supporting each other.
Exactly. And finding a mentor could be huge. Someone who's further along in their career and can give you advice and support. That's so valuable, especially when you're first starting out.
So building a network of peers, of mentors, potential collaborators, that's key for growth and success.
Exactly. All of these different things, the hands-on experience, the certifications, the networking, it all helps you develop those skills, those essential bits of knowledge that RoleCatcher outlines as critical for a youth program director.
It really feels like everything we've talked about comes back to those core things you need to be good at.
You're right. And they go into these skills in a lot of detail. They even have percentages to show how important they are compared to each other.
Which, for anyone listening who hasn't checked out RoleCatcher yet, that's super helpful, gives you clear picture of what it takes to be great in this role. So let's go back over some of those key abilities, starting with social perceptiveness. They had it at 66%, which really stuck with me. What makes that so important for a youth program director? It's almost like you have this sixth sense for knowing what a young person needs, even if they don't say it.
Yeah, exactly. And RoleCatcher, they actually have a really good example of this. They talk about like a youth program director working with teenagers, and there's this one kid who's always withdrawn, never wants to participate.
Someone who wasn't paying attention might just think, oh, this teenager's not interested, or they're being disrespectful.
Exactly, but someone who's really tuned in, they'd sense that there's something more going on.
Like something beneath the surface.
Right. They might notice little things, body language, tone of voice, how they interact with others. They might realize this teenager has anxiety, or their home life is tough, or some other challenge that's affecting them.
And because they're aware of that, the youth program director can approach the situation with empathy. They can change how they interact with that teenager.
Exactly. Maybe they find a way for the teenager to talk one-on-one in private, or connect them with resources, get them some help, or even just make the activities more inclusive, more sensitive to what that teenager needs.
It shows how social perceptiveness goes hand in hand with that other thing we talked about, that active listening. RoleCatcher had that at 61%.
Absolutely. It's about making sure young people feel heard, understood, respected. It's not just about listening to the words, those nonverbal cues too, understanding what's behind what they're saying.
And being able to really listen to them, connect with them, that's how you build trust. That's the foundation of a good youth program, right?
100%. And it's interesting how RoleCatcher connects those interpersonal skills, the people skills, with these more analytical skills, like complex problem solving and critical thinking, both at 59%. They say those are just as important for a youth program director.
Which makes sense when you think about it. Working with young people, it's unpredictable. You have to be able to think on your feet, make good decisions in tough situations, find creative solutions when things don't go as planned.
Yeah, they use this example in the guide. Imagine a youth program director. They've planned this whole camping trip for the weekend. And then A huge storm hits. Now they have to keep a bunch of kids safe in a really challenging situation.
Oh man, talk about pressure. That takes quick thinking, being adaptable, making
Mhm.
the right call when you don't have all the information.
Totally. They might need to assess this situation, change their plans, let the kids and their families know what's going on, maybe even give first aid. Who knows what could happen?
That's where those other skills come in, the judgment and decision making that RoleCatcher mentioned. They had that one at 59% too.
Exactly. You got to stay calm when things get crazy, weigh your options carefully, and make decisions that are best for the young people you're responsible for. And sometimes that means making really tough choices, standing up for what's right even when it's hard.
It sounds like this job takes a lot of different qualities: empathy, assertiveness, and you have to really understand the complexities of working with young people.
You got it. It's a lot. But the thing is, you can make such a huge positive difference in these kids' lives. That's what RoleCatcher really emphasizes. It's that passion, that dedication that makes a youth program director successful.
It's more than just a job, you know? It's like a calling.
You said it. And for people who are drawn to this field, even just becoming a youth program director, that whole journey can be so rewarding.
It's all about always learning, always growing, and being committed to helping the next generation thrive.
That's it. We've taken a close look at what it means to be a youth program director, using RoleCatcher's guide as our roadmap. We talked about how complex this role is, those key skills and knowledge you need to be great at it, even tackled some interview questions you might get asked. Now it's your turn. What really stood out to you? As you start your own path in youth development, remember it's about the journey and the impact you have along the way.